blew up. The other bit tasted of kind of apple vinegar. Some of it was all right. Some of it was all right. But I'm lost in admiration for the Healy family. It's great to be here in Cornwall, where, of course, my father was born in Penzance. His grandfather lived in Carbis Bay, and I was running along the beach in St Ives this morning very slowly, in the dark and the rain and the wind. And I thought, why are we doing this time of year? Get back to Sharon's, but why are we having an election on the 12th of December? And I think we all know the answer, and Sharon has put it's because Parliament won't get Brexit done. And we're totally blockaded, and we've got to get on with it. And until we get Brexit done, as I think everybody understands here, this country as a whole cannot move forward together in the way that we want. And in the last few days, we've seen from their manifestos what all the other parties would do when it comes to getting Brexit done. What would they do? They'd stop it. One way or the other, the Liberal Democrats are proving that they're neither liberal nor democratic, want basically to reverse it. The Scots Nats obviously endlessly want a second referendum on Scottish independence. This was all they're ever interested in, though they'd also want to block Brexit. As for the Labour Party, a most fascinating situation. They, of course, want to block Brexit, but they want to have a second referendum on a deal yet to be done by Mr Corbyn, when we don't yet know what Mr Corbyn's position would be on that deal. And he said he's going to be neutral on the deal that he proposes himself to secure for the European Union. It's quite an extraordinary state of affairs for somebody to be standing for the office of Prime Minister of this country without revealing to the electorate what position he proposes to take on the most important issue facing this country. I mean, he used to be indecisive, but now he's not so sure. You're going to sitting on the fence for so long, the iron is going to enter his soul. In fact, I was at Goon Hilly Earth Station earlier on today, scanning the heavens, and I wondered whether that incredible equipment might be able to detect the black hole at the heart of Labour's Brexit policy, because I can't work out what they're going to do. And I think, frankly, if the Labour opposition cannot give leadership on that vital question now, I do not see how they can lead this country next year, and I don't see how Mr Corbyn can offer the leadership to do it. And we need to get Brexit done because we're a democracy, aren't we? And whether we voted leave or remain, I think most people in this country want us to come together and move forward and respect the will of the people. Don't you think so? I do. Let's get it done. And it's also. And that would give us, everybody, a chance, by the way, everybody who wants to build a wonderful new partnership with our European friends, get on and do that. We're being held back in so many ways by this stasis, this political blockade, this as though like a reticulated python that has swallowed a tapir or something. And simply, if I got that right, that's what our politics resembles. And this is a dino rod election, if you like, to clear the blockage and get it done. And it's not so much about the advantages of Brexit, though they are, in my view, very considerable to this country, whether it's organising our own legislation and regulation to suit the needs of the UK economy, or cutting VAT, or having free ports, free trade, having our own Australian-style points-based immigration system to sort out immigration in this country at long last. There are many, many advantages to Brexit in itself, but actually it's about more than that. It's about responding to the call of the country to do things differently and better. And when people voted for Brexit, they were also voting for a different approach to our economy and a different way of bringing the country together. 17.4 million people voted for change, and we're going to do things differently and better. And we are going to unite and level up across the whole country. And that matters particularly here in the southwest, here in Cornwall, where we need better infrastructure and we need fantastic gigabit broadband and 4G mobile telephony, which we're outlining today. Because it's through, of course, it's about public services. It's about investing in great public service. And there's a lot on this pledge card about it. I hope you've all got a copy of this pledge card. Do you need me to recite the the details. I mean, you know what we're going to do with investment in hospitals. 20 upgrades, 40 new hospitals across the country, including many here in the West Country. It's about investing in police, 423 more police here in the West Country, in the South West, 20,000 initially and 20,000 across the whole country. Levelling up funding for education across the whole country, both in primary schools and in secondary schools, taking up to £4,000 a year per pupil in primary school, £5,000 per year per pupil in secondary schools, making sure that everybody has better access to after-school clubs, before school clubs, giving wraparound childcare. We believe in having fantastic public services, and we can do these things. We can do these things without ruining the economy of this country. We're going to have a different approach. We're going to have a different approach, but we can do these things whilst bearing down on taxation, keeping without raising either income tax or VAT or national insurance contributions. And at the same time, we can make fantastic investments in infrastructure, in education and in technology. The A30, the A303 a bit further away, we're certainly going to do that. We are going to do the Dawlish blooming railway line, which about time we sorted that out. And this is the right moment to do it. And I think Sharon mentioned earlier on, this is the moment to be investing in technology, not just broadband and 4G telephony, but stuff like our fantastic space program. I mean, these are going to be long-term jobs for the United Kingdom, and it's wonderful what's happening at Newquay now. And by the way, there's going to be another one in Scotland as well. So in 10 years' time, this country will be a space technology satellite superpower because of the investments we're making. That is going to be good for the whole of the UK. Scotland, Cornwall, you're talking about investing in every part of our United Kingdom. Infrastructure, education, technology, bringing the whole country together, levelling up and uniting. That is what I think the people of this country want to see. They want to see the potential of this entire country unleashed. And that is why we need to get Brexit done. It is not rocket science, except obviously when it is rocket science in the case of what we're doing in Newquay and in Caithness. And how can we do all this? How can a one nation Conservative government do all this? What's at the heart of our philosophy? It's very, very simple. It's that we see the balance and the symmetry in the UK economy between fantastic public services, between sorting out the A30 and the railway line at Dawlish and education, all those things that we need to do, and a dynamic market economy, which we believe in. And indeed, I think we're the only party contesting in this election which truly understands and believes in the importance of wealth creation. As far as I can make out, looking at everybody else. Do you not think so? And we think... And so we think when people get up early in the morning, at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, to get their businesses ready, whether it's a cider press or whatever, when they come up with a brilliant idea for some new product, adventurous new product, Rattler, or whatever it happens to be, and they decide to find a new market, whether at home or abroad, when they risk their own money, take out a mortgage to invest in some new product line, we don't sneer at those people. We cheer for them. They are the backbone of our economy, and we support them. We support them. And that's why we can do all this, and we can also cut national insurance and cut business taxes, as we will in our first Parliament, in our first budget, if we're lucky enough to be returned on December the 12th. And what would Corbyn and McDonnell do? We've seen what they would do. It would be an absolutely ruinous programme, an economically disastrous programme, putting up taxes for everybody in this country by about £2,400 per taxpayer. Look at the. I don't know if any of you saw an interview last night with Mr. Corbyn, in which it was perfectly clear that the burden of taxation, because of the 1.2 trillion debts that they were, would fall on everybody. And it's worse than that. It's worse than that, of course, because what would happen is that the scale of the spending and the borrowing would be marked down internationally, and UK debt would cost more. and interest rates would go up and people's mortgages would be affected, and it would be, I'm afraid, economically ruinous for our country. And that is not the right way forward. That's not the way to do it. And by the way, I don't think it's sensible to keep our economy in suspense in the way that Corbyn is proposing to do in his alliance with Sturgeon by having yet more delectable disputation about the European Union and another referendum next year. I mean, it just wastes time. It prevents people making investments. It is a total drag anchor on the UK. And as I say, I think it's amazing that we still don't know what deal Mr. Corbyn proposes to do, or whether he would be in favour of it or not. And I can just imagine how is he supposed to get that deal in Brussels? I mean, what conviction is he supposed to carry in those negotiations? Can you imagine the scene? You know, Act 1, Scene 1, enter Corbyn, stage left. Monsieur Barnier is there, and he says, "Bonjour, Monsieur Corbyn, comment allez-vous? Tell us about this wonderful deal that you want to do." Quoi? You mean you're not even sure you're in favour of it yourself? Mais then who is in favour of it? Is Monsieur MacDonald, or Monsieur Starmer, or Madame Abbott? Are they in favour of it? And I'm afraid that the answer is no. There's only one person who's apparently backing Jeremy Corbyn's deal, and that's Jeremy Corbyn, and even he isn't backing it. And it is a totally farcical situation. It would be farcical. It would be comical if it was not so disastrous for the UK economy. And, my friends, I just ask you to look at the distinction between the opposition and us. We have a deal. It's ready to go. It's oven ready. Just bung it in. It'll be done after Christmas. It'll be done before Christmas, by the way. It is there to go. All 635 Conservative candidates at this election have signed up to this deal. There has never been such an outbreak of harmony in the Conservative Party. I mean, that's a quite extraordinary thing. We have, and from every point of view, we're all across all the spectrum of views in our wonderful party, people are coming together to back this deal. Why? Because they care about their country and they love their country and they want to see it move forward. And they want to get Brexit done so that we can get on with our one nation Conservative agenda of uniting and levelling up across the country. And that is what we're going to do if we're lucky enough to be returned with a working majority on December the 12th. We will get a parliament that works for you. So I hope we can all work together to achieve that. And let's make this fantastic country. Let's continue to develop our amazing green technologies in which this part of the world so excels. And let's be carbon neutral by 2050 and Corbyn neutral by Christmas, and which I think we can achieve. And let's make sure that we take this country forward and take the South-West forward with sensible, moderate, tax-cutting but compassionate Conservative policies. That is what we're going to do if we're lucky enough to be returned. There's a big, big contest still ahead of us, but with your help, I think we can do it. Thank you all very much for listening today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go to Tamsin Melville of BBC Spotlight. Tamsin.
So when you were elected leader, you said you were going to fix the crisis in social care. It was one of your priorities. I'm looking at this Get Brexit Done.
Yes.
What's going to happen for the South West? I can't see it on here at all. In the manifesto, there's not a lot of detail. It just says that people won't have to sell their houses to pay for their care. Don't you think the voters, particularly somewhere like Cornwall, where this is such a big issue, deserve a bit more detail on a topic like this?
Yes, well, thank you, Tamsin. It is everybody heard Tamsin's question. It is a massive issue, and I was just at a hospital this morning, West Cornwall Hospital, talking to staff about one of the pressures that they face as a result of the social care crisis, because often it's the interface between the councils and the NHS where things go wrong, and the burden is absolutely huge at the moment. So what we've done for this new Conservative government, number one, the first thing we've done is we've put 1.5 billion into immediate tackling of the cost of social care for local authorities, both for adults and kids, and just for the immediate purposes. Well, we've also said we're going to have another billion a year for the life of the next Parliament to deal with the extra costs that social care is imposing. We are, point three, we're going to work now, what I think is a growing national consensus about this issue, that we need as a country to come together and agree on the way forward. And I think people can, as with the NHS, people can see the rough outlines of what we need to do. And there are two key principles, and they are, number one, that everybody must have dignity and security in old age, and number two, nobody should have to sell their home to pay for the costs of their care. And that is the plan that we will be bringing forward. And we will work across politics to get that done. I'm going to go to David Wood of ITV West Country. David.
Mr Johnson, you were in Penzance this morning and you heard firsthand from nurses the pressures that they face. The Royal Cornwall Hospital, not too far from here, is on its second highest level of alert.
Yes.
We've not really had a cold snap yet. Last week we were sent pictures from that hospital of ambulances queuing around the back with patients not able to have room in the A&E. Liz Truss was in the county and apologised. Are you sorry for the state of this county's NHS now, 10 years of a Conservative-led government?
Well, David, of course, I understand the pressures that the NHS is under, and by goodness, I really see what people are having to cope with. The numbers, one of the things that's happening at the moment, of course, is our population is getting older, people are using the NHS more and more, and they, by and large, people do an incredible job in our NHS, but they are, as you say, they're under huge pressure. Now, here in the southwest, we're putting another 450 million in immediately, because although you're right to say that the government came in 9 years ago, but we're taking a new approach. And I make no bones about it, we are taking a new approach, particularly when it comes to funding the NHS. This is our priority. It has to be done. And we're putting 100 million into the Royal Cornwall Hospital, as I think you know. We are upgrading Truro, putting quite a lot into Truro, I think a new maternity unit there. And what we will do is we will continue to invest in the NHS, not just in the short term. We're putting 34 billion in now, which is the biggest amount in modern memory. But we will continue to invest in the NHS for the long term, because we can manage the economy sensibly and deliver the revenues that this society will need to pay for a fantastic NHS. And that's our pledge to you, that's our guarantee. So yes, we will deliver 50,000 more nurses, and yes, some of them will be retained, but there will also be huge numbers of new nurses. We will have 6,000 more GPs and many more physiotherapists, and we'll do it by sensible management of the economy. And I have to say that it's not only that I think that Mr. Corbyn's economic prospectus is utterly ruinous, and they would take a sledgehammer to the viability of the UK economy, but schemes like the 4-day week would be absolutely catastrophic for the sensible management of all public services, including the NHS. So I think that our approach, a one nation Conservative approach, is the best way forward. But look, I'm not going to dissent from you, David. This is our priority, and we want to get Brexit done so we can get on with it. Richard Whitehouse from Cornwall Live.
Hello. Cornwall Council has had to make savings of more than £370 million since 2010, and it says this is because of government cuts. Is it fair then that you've made a £2 billion pothole pledge as a key part of your manifesto? Shouldn't you be addressing the funding for local government?
Well, so thank you, Richard. Well, of course, we are putting much more money into local government, particularly to address the needs of adult social care, and I think that at least some of that £2 billion pothole pledge will be spent through local councils insofar as they have responsibility for the roads. But I will check that. But we are putting much more money into local government. The crisis in local government is particularly around social care, and that's where the money is going first. On the £2 billion for potholes, I can't believe it's all going to be spent by the Department for Transport, but I will check that. I will check that. Milo Perrin from Cornish Stuff.
Dith da, Prime Minister, Kerno Gasteiner.
Dith da. Is that right? I don't know whether I got that right.
That means hello and welcome to Cornwall, for those who don't understand. Here you are a long way from Westminster. In your manifesto, you said you'll produce a white paper on devolution to the regions.
Yes.
Is that right? But here we are in a beautiful place of the world, but it's a very socially deprived place as well, where wages can be up to £4 an hour less than a national average. How's your devolution agenda going to address situations like that? And how can our Cornish identity be guaranteed in a regionalist initiative?
Milo, thank you very much. Listen, on wages, I believe in a high-wage, high-skill economy. And where it's possible, and so that's why we're actually lifting up the living wage by the biggest ever increase. And I think that will help people on low incomes. As you know, we're also cutting national insurance, which will help people on low incomes. And I think that should be our priority. And I'm just for all those who are, we have record low unemployment at the moment in this country. And it's a fantastic thing. But people do feel the squeeze. They do feel the cost of living, and we must address that. And one of the reasons I massively expanded the living wage when I was running London was because I did come to the conclusion that it was actually going to help increase the productivity of many businesses and would create greater loyalty and greater performance, and it does. And I think it's right that people should be properly paid. So we will be doing that. It will be and I accept that it's not the only thing that matters. You've also got to be doing a lot to reduce the sense of remoteness that some people have. And that's why I talk so much about technology, gigabit broadband, 4G, 5G, 6G. I think they're coming down the line. All that we got to do because that promotes people's sense of possibility in their lives. Plus bus routes. Buses. I am a fanatic about buses, and I think that you can do a huge amount with a decent rural bus network, and we will be doing that as well. And on your point about the Cornish language, well, I'm not very proficient in Cornish. I don't think I know any Cornish apart from Dithda. But I think obviously it's a wonderful thing for people to celebrate their heritage and to have an understanding of it. And I would certainly want to encourage local authorities, local government, devolved government to champion Cornish and to make sure that it is spoken and understood in the way that you obviously do. And I was in Wales. Where was I? No, I was in Wales. I was in Wales 2 days ago. And I learned a wonderful word in Welsh. I wonder whether it's the same in Cornish, because I know yaki da is quite similar, isn't it? I was trying to say something about our deal, which I said it was oven ready, and actually, and I said in Wales you could put it in the microwave, which in Welsh is you pop it in the pop tipping, which is the Welsh. What's the Cornish for microwave? Okay. Well, anyway, I'm all in favour of the encouragement and the celebration of local traditions and language, and we should certainly be doing that. Andy Ballantyne from Heart Radio Southwest.
You say that the Labour Party's allegations that the NHS has been discussed in future trade talks with the US are total nonsense. If that is the case, can you explain why the documents show that it was discussed and why these conversations did happen?
No, I'm sorry. It is a total nonsense, and it is endlessly repeated by the Labour Party that the NHS is somehow up for sale or going to be negotiated in a trade deal. Nothing could be further from the truth. That will not happen under this government or indeed any Conservative government. And I think what you've heard from me today is our commitment to the NHS. And there's only one reason why the Labour Party continues to bring this up. Which is a total invention. It is because they seek to distract from the great void at the heart of their principal policy at this election, which is about Brexit. And it was clear from the interview last night that Jeremy Corbyn not only is refusing to campaign for his own deal, but he can't find anybody in the Labour Party to do the job for him. And I think in the face of that kind of vacuum of leadership, to say nothing of the vacuum of leadership that they're showing when it comes to cracking down on anti-Semitism within the Labour Party, I think that is why this nonsense is continually spouted. But nonsense it is. And what we will do is get Brexit done and get on with taking this country forward, uniting, levelling up, and, as I say, making investments in the NHS on a scale not seen for a generation, which we and only we can make because we are a one-nation party that also understands the importance of a dynamic economy. And that's our pitch to the country. I hope you think it's a powerful and persuasive one. And we're going to get on and get this thing done. Anyway, thank you all very, very much for your time. I think this is going to be a very exciting last 2 weeks of the election. We've got to keep going and making our central points, and we can take absolutely nothing for granted, but we have some fantastic, fantastic candidates standing here in the Southwest, standing here in Cornwall, and I hope very much that you will make sure that they are all returned to Westminster on December the 12th. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Yes, of course you can. Come on. I might go to that.